Spoiler alert, if you have not read or listened to the whole saga of Beowulf, I would advise you to read upon it or what have you, and then watch this video, because otherwise all the goodies of Beowulf would be spoiled for you. In this video, we're going to go in great depth about the Abrahamic elements in the Beowulf story, and that these elements were to discourage Germanic spirituality, or in other words, in more layman terms, Germanic paganism. First off, we have the monster in the story. Well, the first of the monsters in Beowulf, and that's Grendel. And Grendel, he's the one that goes to Heorot and, kills a lot of Danes and makes Hrothgar very unhappy and whatnot. But let's go into his origins. Here we have the verses from 101 to 113, and I'll read the Old English to you, and then I will read my translation to you afterwards. So here we go. Feond on hella was de grimmagaste Grendelhaten mare mark stapen, sethe morras Eald, fen und fasten, fiver kunnes ard, wonsalig war dode chwile. Sithan him schupend forskriven havde. In keines kunne thonne kwalm je urak eke drichten thasta he abel sloch. Ne fache he thare fachte ag he hinne feor forrak. Metod for thu man kunne fram Thanon untundras alle onwåkon, eotenas und ylve und orkeneas sulke gigantes. And now we'll go into the English translation that I cooked up, so here we go. Enemy in hell was the fierce one ghost Grendel called, great border stepper, he who moors held, fen and stronghold, monster kind's region, absent happy male, guarded for a while. After that, him Shaper had condemned. In Cain's kin the destruction wreaked, eternal lord of who that he Abel slew, did not seize he of the vengeance, but he him far drove out. Death/fate God for this crime, mankind from thence malice beings all awoken, Jotuns and elves and sea monsters and such giants. So a lot we can gather from this. So basically, this is a fusing of the Bible story of Cain and Abel with Germanic spirituality here, because it's mixing in with Jotuns and elves and sea monsters and giants, and it's making the connotation or the association I should say, that because what Cain did to Abel, all of a sudden, because then from mankind you have all these Jotuns and elves and sea monsters and whatnot. So this is a way to disparage or to put down, let's say, things like nature spirits and stuff like that, and they're all bad, because of what Cain did to Abel. So this is definitely Abrahamism, trying to invert nature spirits and like other kind of metaphysical beings. Next we have this verse, 120, 121. This sort of really gives you a better idea of what Grendel's like. So he's called here Wicht on Hallow, Grim and Grady, Yarrow Sona Was, creature unwhole, savage and covetous, ready immediately was. So this is the part where he's gonna cause some trouble in Heorot. Yeah, so he's a very jealous and angry kind of guy. Moving on. Now, verses from 175, 188 are quite significant to the whole Beowulf story, and I'll dive into that. But before we get into that, I'd like to dive into the Old English, and then I'll read to you the present English of my translation. Chwilym hir I heton at hyr travum. Wych wyrddunga wordum dadon. That him gasbona jöka I flemere. With theod traum. Swilk was thou hyra hadendra hyrt. Hella I mundon in modsevan. Metod hir nekudon dada demend. Nen neston hir drichten god. Ne hir huru helvena helm herjan nekudon. Woldreswaldend wa betham de shall slitna neath saula beskuvan. In fyres fathom, frovren na wenan, vichta I wendan. Well betham de mot, after that daya, drichten sekian. Und to fader fathmum freodo wilnian. And here is my translation. Sometimes they were called from statue buildings, and this is what is sometimes translated as temples, statue worshipping. By words, they prayed that for them, ghost killer safety performed against people calamities. I know this may sound like a clunky translation, but basically what is meant by ghost killer, what's implied by ghost killer in the context of the story is that is making reference to the devil, and that that these pagans, if you will, they will worship. Well, this is speaking from an Abrahamic point of view that these pagans would be worshiping the devil for safety against like bad events, people calamities, like things that happen to people, right? So anyway, here we go. Such was a servant of them heathens hope. So such was a servant, so that servant being the ghost killer, the devil, right? And of heathens hope, right? So to hell considered in heart. Fate/death god they did not know. Judge of deeds they did not know. Lord God, nor they at least heaven's helm to praise did not even know. Glory's wielder. Woe is to that which shall through dire hatred the soul to shove in fire's power, come forth not to expect, creatures to turn. Well is to that which may after death day Lord to seek, and to father by arms embrace, to desire peace. This is a really telling excerpt of the Beowulf story. This says a lot about the whole story altogether. And this is a part, right after, Grendel comes in and kills a few people, or what have you, or whatnot. And here the narrator, if you will, that you have these people saying that, oh yeah, you have these people that they worshipped statues and they're worshiping the devil or whatnot against bad things, people calamities. And it implies that, oh, well, these things happened because they didn't know God. They did not know basically the God of Abrahamism. And then later it implies that, oh, well, because they didn't know God, well, that's why they suffer and whatnot. And the only way to salvation, if you will, is through God, right? It'll be very Abrahamic, right? So, yeah, it's a very telling. This part here really says a lot about the whole thing. It makes me think about the intention of the Beowulf text itself, like for those reading it, as a tool for conversion, right? So, oh yeah, look at these people. They had this monster come after them. Well, guess what, guys? That happened because they didn't know God. So if they knew God, well, this wouldn't have never have happened. Speaking in Abrahamic terms, right? So now for this verse, verse 711. Grendel gongan godes ure bär. So Grendel to go, God's ire bore. So this is like a very old way of speaking, right? Well, it's Old English, right? So basically Grendel was going, and he held God's anger, right? And to be very specific, what God are we talking about here? We're talking about, yeah, exactly. What God are we talking about here? We're talking about the God of Abrahamism, and what's the name of this deity that we're talking about here? Well, and to some people's surprise, or people may not be surprised if they're well read on the Bible, especially the Old Testament. Well, the God in question is called El Yahweh, and El Yahweh is it's a jealous God. He's an angry God, and yeah, he gets jealous, he gets angry, he demands blind obedience or whatnot, and so to give an example of what Yahweh is like, or the character of Yahweh, this is Yahweh, El Yahweh, who's the God of the Bible, the deity in question that met Abraham and said, hey, I'll test your obedience, and anyway. So I'm going to read a Bible verse from Deuteronomy, and here we go. Do not follow other gods, the gods of the people around you, for the Lord your God, Yahweh, who is among you, is a jealous God, Yahweh, and his anger will burn against you, and he will destroy you from the face of the land. Yeah, this is not a nice deity. This is not someone who, I don't know, he kind of scares me, and I'd rather go with Krishna, but that's with me. Hare Krishna. And here we have Grendel here, he's very, doesn't like human happiness. If you read more of the Beowulf story, and he doesn't, he gets angry and jealous, and I don't know, I see a lot of connections with Grendel and Yahweh. So in some shape or form, perhaps Grendel is like acting out God's anger, like that God is acting through Grendel in his anger, if you will. That's one way of looking at it, I suppose. But anyway, so in conclusion, verses or lines, if you will, 101 to 113 demonizes nature spirits and such due to Abrahamic tale of Cain and Abel. So basically, it's blaming mankind, right? So a human episode of Cain and Abel, that all these demons in the underworld, they've come and whatnot, and so everything from a fairy to a pixie to a nature spirit, any metaphysical being that's considered bad, because of what happened to Cain and Abel, right? Then 175 to 188, this demonizes Germanic devotees that essentially that because they're ignorant of El Yahweh, and essentially deserve the damage by Grendel, because they did not know God and whatnot, and it's like they should have known better, right? So. And then from 120 to 121, reveals the nature of Grendel, that he's an angry sort of guy. So he's grim and grady and grady and ready to do some damage. In 711, he holds God's anger, and 711. Grendel has El Yahweh's anger. So this begs the question whether Grendel was acting on behalf of El Yahweh as a way to, punish the pagans, or if you will, or what have you, because El Yahweh is a angry god and whatnot. But to be fair, though, to be intellectually honest, that Grendel himself, if you go back to his origins, that God condemned Grendel for him being a descendant of Cain. That's something to bear in mind. But anyway, all in a nutshell, given all this information of what we went over here, of the lines or the verses, from the Beowulf story, that begs the question: why was this preserved? Why was this written down? I mean, what's the intention behind it? And it's quite clear, looking at the verses, that this is like a tool for conversion. We can make comparisons with other Germanic texts, like the Heliond, which is a text in Old Saxon, basically about Jesus if he was born in Saxony, essentially, and not in Bethlehem. right? And yeah, and it presents Jesus apparently as a warrior and whatnot, and which would ring similar to pagan Saxons, because that was similar to them. So as a way of conversion. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe for more videos. If you'd like to support the channel by patronage, you can by becoming a patron at Patreon. By becoming a $5 pledging patron, you will have access to what I'm up to, live streams, and patron-only content. By becoming a $20 patron, you'll get the benefits as the previous tier, as well as access to a Discord server where you and other $20 patrons can talk together with me in real time. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.